Hello everybody, Christian from Treasure Town here, and today we're going to be speaking about what you should be doing with your collection before you pass away. So a lot of collectors have really nice, I'm mostly familiar with coin collections, paper money, that sort of thing, but often there are some basic steps that people can take to ensure that they'll realize a fair value for their coins and collections. Oftentimes you hear of art pieces selling for tens of thousands after somebody picks it up for a small amount at a garage sale. Likewise, you might find similar situations where people or, say, ancestors or relatives who inherit a collection sell it for way, way below what it's worth because they don't do a good job shopping it around or researching what they have. I think that there's some important things that you as a collector should do, especially if you're either seeking to preserve the value of what you've collected for future generations, or if you just have a really nice collection and don't want to see that go to waste. These are some steps that you should follow and things that you should consider. So by watching this video, you're starting on my first major tip, which is to just have a plan and acknowledge that this is something that you should do, whether it's to sort of see your collection to fruition in the sense that you're able to sell it while you're alive, or to just ensure that the effort that you've put into collecting something is going to be sort of rewarded, and as opposed to like trashed and thrown away and discarded or sold for a minimal value or a fraction of what it's worth. I think that it's smart that you're focused on this topic. I think that applies to anybody with really any possessions that have value, but I'm not going to be covering any advanced like estate planning or tax planning. This is more just some basic principles that will help you. And it could also, if you just come into a collection, this video will be useful. But having a plan, whether that means the first one that I would recommend thinking about is selling off especially some of the non-core possessions in the collection. So say you have a really, really large collection of coins, and you might want to downsize to just a few really nice pieces. Maybe that in your case is 100 coins, maybe that's 10, maybe that's 3, as opposed to having like huge amounts of sets and different coins and flips that aren't very well sort of categorized and organized. I think that it's important, it's important to just have everything well documented, and we'll get into that in a moment, but that allows selling off some of the non-core stuff, allows you to enjoy the highlights of your collection while also being able to get a reasonable price, and maybe you use the time to ensure that they get a good price, whether it's selling them yourself on eBay, contacting an auction house if you have some nicer, especially graded material, or shopping it around to different coin dealerships to just make sure that you're getting a pretty fair price. And then also doing the research if you don't know too much about the coins that you have, or the people that might receive the coins after your passing don't know much about the coins, to really identify which coins and possessions have a lot of value and explain that. So say there's a bunch of Morgan dollars, a lot of people won't know to look for the CC Carson City Mint Mark, and a lot of coin dealers don't even want to check for them because then they'd have to pay more for the Morgan dollars. So being able to identify those key dates is important. Same thing if you have silver coins, they're all Roosevelt dimes. Well, those look like the Roosevelt dimes that we spend today. So it's going to be smart that you document exactly what they are, and this way whoever comes into them can either know what they are and sell them for reasonable amount within the price range, and for a lot of these types of materials, if you're not going to sell them yourself, you probably want to dictate how they would best be sold. So taking some mint state graded, in the earlier example, Carson City Morgan dollars, to a local coin shop, maybe that's an okay idea, but you could also try to get a relationship with one of the auction houses where they might take, 10%, somewhere in that ballpark, 12%, maybe a little bit less too. But they'll be able to auction it for you and give you the proceeds, or the proceeds of whoever receives them, as opposed to going to a coin shop who doesn't have the same liquidity. They're going to have to take on more risk, and they're probably going to pay a fair amount under what the price for that Carson City that they can trade it for immediately. They're going to have to do the work for that individual coin as opposed to just imaging it and listing it on an auction platform. So that's just something that I would also think about, being very clear about all the items that you do have, and then maybe you can sell them if you want, going back to what I was saying earlier, but also that way people can really appreciate. Or another good one is varieties. Say you have a 1955 double die, a lot of people might just throw that in with the regular wheat cents from 1955 if they don't have a close eye. There's just so many little things like that where it can make a really big difference. Now, taking a step back, I once was, somebody that I know pretty closely, their relative or friend passed away, and while they were cleaning out the person's basement, there was a sack of a huge, not huge, but like I consider it huge to find like $5,000 of silver, and that was totally unknown to anybody, and that could have easily just been thrown out had the person not heard the jingle and understood and thought that, okay, well, I'm going to go look. But say a moving company had, or a demolition group or something like that to scrap all of it, that easily could have been lost. So I think it's important that you make some people aware. Now, if you're worried about security, that you might get robbed, maybe that's something that then gets put in a will or just told to a really trusted single person. There's some considerations about the human aspect of not wanting somebody to know that you have really valuable materials if they're just going to then use that to their advantage and not be sort of honorable and trustworthy and ethical with how they go about acting with that information. But you also don't want your prized collection to not even be known about and then end up in a junkyard. Now, another thing to think about is if your collection is big enough or you've been building it for a long time, you may have some relationships with those coin dealers who will pay a very fair price. It might not be the leading market one, but there is sort of an aspect of coin dealers, you're almost paying them to do the annoying work of doing a lot of the process of selling it. So you're paying them a little bit more as opposed to paying an auction house 10%. Maybe you're paying the coin dealer 20%, but also supports their business, and it's a relationship that you have where that you're going to be treated well. So I think that that's something to consider as well, but don't ignore the local coin dealers. That can often be a good place to go with bullion, whether that's gold bullion or silver bullion. If you're the people that will receive your collection, they really don't appreciate silver or gold, maybe it's a better idea to sell it yourself. Know that you're able to place the material for a certain amount of money and then have that available as cash instead of as gold or silver, where the person who then receives it, same thing with coins, may not have the same appreciation or willingness to work through, or just propensity to be ripped off and not realize what they have. Even if there is some indication of these are the better coins, these aren't. I think that just having all the information set out as easily and as available as possible is going to be an important step for anybody considering this. If you have a fair amount of time and are educated or understand the process of selling material on eBay, that's a good way to get a lot of reach. The fees are probably going to be about 13 to 14% of the final amount that you sell. There is some shipping to be factored in there also, but I think that that's a reasonable way to do it a little slower on your time. You can also set buy it now prices and go through the process a little bit more. But I think that this then ventures into how to sell as opposed to the inheritance factor or how you're going to move along. But I think in general for collectors, often, at least how I see it, owning a few really quality pieces, that's just like going to be the thing that I go back to, is a smart move as opposed to just tons and tons of smaller items. Now, I own a fair amount of small items, and that's just something that I've done. I'm trimming my own collection, less with the estate in mind, but I think that it's also good to keep things simple and not get overly complicated or bogged down in a ton of coins that, I have like some world coins that I collect, and so some of them are valuable, but some of them are really just sort of an interesting geography or something like that, and I know which ones are valuable and which ones aren't. So I want to make sure that they don't all get sold as non-valuable coins, for example, and I'll know how to place them. Some of these coins, maybe I would consider getting them graded and then selling them. Some of the coins I know would really just be best for like a bulk world coin lot, and then others are sort of in the middle. Maybe I know that there's a silver value or something along those lines. Lastly, I would definitely recommend with the dealers, and I mentioned this before, but if you are going to just go the route of selling to, a family friend who is a coin dealer or local coin shops, that you should do and get multiple opinions, even if, you get 4 or 5 offers that are all in the same range. You'll probably realize that, well, it was like a good thing that you did. Maybe one of them will be 5 or 10% more than the others, and it'll sort of give you some peace to know that you did the effort to realize the most value for either the person, the people that are going to receive the money, but also for yourself to see that the collection that you've built has been handled ethically and well, and the value hasn't been destroyed because of what sometimes it's carelessness, but sometimes it's really just human error. Somebody doesn't fully know. I mean, collecting, there's so much that's not obvious to non-collectors, and there's not too many collectors out there. So it's a really important thing, especially to realize if you are the only person in your family or circle of people that is involved with collecting, or else, I just have heard some horror stories, whether it's online or it's some anecdotes of people just making really bad mistakes with how they go about selling their, say, third of a collection. So hopefully this is helpful, even though there's not like super tangible steps. I think that just being cognizant of it, that's like the main goal with this video, that people will take it seriously and be able to not have this be sort of a trap or a pitfall or something that they really leaves them in a sour taste, with a sour taste in their mouth. Not everything is about money within collecting, but if you do have a significantly valuable collection, again, you want to preserve that. So hope that this video is helpful, encourages you, and can point you in some of the next steps, thinking about estate planning or thinking about just how you're going to go about liquidating your collection. Thanks for watching the video. I'd encourage you to like, comment, and subscribe to the channel to stay updated. I've also got Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter, so you can follow me there. TreasureTownYT.com is the main channel website. Definitely give that a visit. I've got a lot of information about me up there and the channel. CoinGrabBag.com as well currently redirects there, but it's some good opportunities for very fair grab bags, both made by me and other sellers. A lot of different options, so that's a good way to support. There's also TreasureTownCoins.com. In the future, my coin dealing operation will be done out of that website. CoinMeltPrice.com for updates on the melt prices of your coins, both US and world. A lot of resources in that website. And then CoinsMetalsCards.com, being developed right now as a marketplace and news source for coins, metals, cards, and collectibles in general. So I'll see you on my future videos. Looking forward to seeing you there, and hope you have a good day.